A father's last command, my cousin's accident, happened on a rain-soaked night in late autumn. He was driving into the mountains with the girl he had only just started seeing, hoping to catch the last blaze of red leaves before the season stripped the branches bare. Then a truck lost control and crashed through the guardrail. When the hospital called, my uncle was in the yard bagging corn. The sack slipped from his hands and hit the ground with a dull, heavy thud, scattering kernels across the dirt. By the time we reached the emergency ward, a doctor was already waiting in the corridor. He pulled off his mask and said, "You should prepare yourselves. The bleeding inside his skull is severe. He may not survive the night." My uncle seized the front of the doctor's white coat. His fingers clenched so tightly that his knuckles went white. When he spoke, his voice shook so violently it scarcely sounded like his own. "Doctor, please, take my old life if you have to. Just don't let anything happen to my son." He spent the entire night crouched in that corridor, the floor around him littered with cigarette butts. Toward dawn, he lifted his face to the hospital ceiling and whispered, as though pleading with heaven itself, "Let me go for him. Let me die in my son's place." Early the next morning, my uncle clutched his chest and collapsed in the hallway. The emergency examination showed an acute heart attack. He was admitted to a ward on the same floor as my cousin. We all thought the strain and terror of those days had brought back an old illness. None of us truly believed the desperate prayer he had murmured in the corridor. But that night, my uncle died. When the nurse came to tell us, my aunt crumpled to the floor. Her sobs rose through the sharp sting of disinfectant, and something in that sound seemed to make the whole corridor tremble. Then, the day after my uncle passed away, news came from the ICU. My cousin's vital signs had suddenly steadied. The bleeding inside his skull had somehow stopped. During rounds, the doctor kept turning through his chart, reading it again and again, unable to hide his disbelief. "Incredible," he murmured. "Absolutely incredible." We did not dare tell my cousin that his father was gone. He lay in the ICU with tubes running in and out of his body, sealed away from the world beyond that narrow bed. A week later, when he finally woke, there was still a tube in his throat. He could only speak with his eyes. On the day the tube was removed, his voice had barely returned. The first thing he did was look straight at my aunt. His words came out hoarse, rough as sand dragged over wood. "My dad is gone, isn't he?" My aunt's tears spilled over at once. She nodded. My cousin closed his eyes. 2 lines of tears slid from the corners and disappeared into his hair. "I saw him at the gates of death," he said. "He was standing in a great white light. He told me, 'Dad is going in your place. You must live well.' Then he turned and walked away. I kept calling after him, but no matter how I shouted, he wouldn't come back." Only later did we understand. The wish my uncle had made in that hospital corridor had come true. He had given his life for his sons. On the day of the funeral, my cousin was still far from recovered. He could only sit in a wheelchair, holding my uncle's memorial portrait in his arms. The wind lifted the paper money and blew it down onto his knees. Again and again, he whispered, "Dad, I'll live well for you." I often think that the heaviest love in this world is not the kind people speak of easily. It is a father, cornered by despair, saying, "Let me go in his place." It is the turn of a back across the border between life and death. It is the sentence a son hears at the very edge of the afterworld. Live well. Some farewells are written with a life. Some reunions can happen only in dreams. And some love never vanishes. It becomes the wind, it becomes the rain, it becomes every breath of air around you, telling you softly and without end, I have always been here.